So when you're looking at percent yield now, the actual yield is really the percent, or I should say, it's the amount that is reached once equilibrium has been established. So really, percent yield or percent reaction, it means the same thing, is going to be the amount at equilibrium over the amount that we should theoretically achieve. So for example, let's say we were using stoichiometry here. So I had 2 moles of this and 1 mole here, right? So theoretically, using mole ratio, B would be my limiting reactant. So the most that I should be able to make here is 1 mole. But maybe when we actually do the reaction, we only get 0.7 moles. So this actual is basically the amount that was achieved once equilibrium has been established. So the percent yield, of course, would then be 0.7 over 1 times 100, which means we would have a 70% yield. Okay, so it's important when you're doing percent yield or percent reaction, you can do this with concentration values or mole values. You'll end up with the same value at the, you'll end up with the same answer no matter which one you end up using. So the actual yield is essentially equilibrium. The theoretical yield is done in the exact same way that you're used to doing. So essentially you first determine your limiting reactant, and then you look at the mole ratio. This was just a 1-to-1, so it was exactly the same. So now, the percent yield that we end up getting from a reaction actually tells us if we have an established equilibrium or not. So a reaction can fall into one of 3 categories. Either that there is no reaction observed, so maybe we say no reaction. We have a reaction that goes to completion, and then we have reactions that are in equilibrium or noticeable equilibrium. Now, every reaction has the possibility of creating product and reactant once again, but it actually depends on how much of one or the other you make that will tell us what category we fall under. So let's say we go to the no reaction observed. So this actually means that you are making less than 1% product. That doesn't mean you're making 0 product. It just means that there is so little product made that it's not really to the point where it's observable. So when those types of reactions occur, let's say we add these 2 together in a test tube and nothing's happening. We would say, oh, there's no reaction. Theoretically, I want you to understand that there is still some small portion that is reacting. It's just not a lot, less than 1%. And that could be for a bunch of different reasons. It could deal with the amount of energy required. It could deal with different things that are hindering the reaction rates. But regardless, if it's less than 1% product, you can say that there is no reaction. The reverse of that, of course, is let's say we have tons of product, 99% plus product. So this is where we actually tend to use only the single forward arrow for these types of reactions. So this is where, you could still have some small amount becoming reactants again. Like you do have some, you'll never have 100%, but you could even have 99.9% product. You're of course going to have that where did that 0.1% go? It became reactant again. But because it has so much product being produced, we can just say, you know what? It's pretty much complete. Like it's close enough that we can say it's complete. So when we say that there has been an established equilibrium, really what that means is it's somewhere in between that. So if I have 2% product or 98% product, it's still pretty close to those other requirements, but it's still equilibrium. But you can have 10% product, 30% product, 75% product. It doesn't matter as long as if it's between that 1 and 99% yield, you have a noticeable established equilibrium. Okay, so when you have that range, 1 to 99% is a pretty big range. Okay, but typically, we can say, there's a couple of terms that we're going to use here. We say that things are favored. Okay, so if we have less than 50%, if the percent is less than 50%, so let's say we had a 25% product. That means the other 75% is remaining as reactants, like it's reverting backwards. So even though we have equilibrium here, we can say, you know what? It favors being on the product reactant side more so than the product side, right? There's more reactants than there are products. And then of course, vice versa. So if you have more than 50% products and less than 50% reactants, that means you can say that it favors the products. But regardless, if we were to say, okay, what type of reaction is this? Well, this is equilibrium, right? It's between that 1 and 99%. Okay, so calculating concentrations at equilibrium. So up until now, we've only ever dealt with stoichiometry when looking at chemical reactions. And we always assume that they went to completion, right? So that goes back to actually this little guy here we did. So like A plus B making C, we can determine this by using mole ratios. But we haven't yet seen calculations involving equilibriums that have been established. So anytime you're dealing with reversible reactions, we're going to use something called an ICE table to organize your information. So an ICE table, it's an acronym that essentially stands for initial, change, and equilibrium. So initial concentration, change in concentration, and equilibrium concentration. So this is that method I was mentioning at the beginning of this lesson that we were going to be using quite a bit throughout the course of this unit. So setting up this ICE table properly and knowing how to solve for these types of problems, we are going to build on this and we are going to continue looking at this more thoroughly later on. Okay, so we're going to end off by doing an example together, and this whole first section of the chapter is really going to be very similar questions to the one we're doing here. So when ammonia is heated, it decomposes into nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas, and we have our balanced chemical equation. So this should kind of go without saying, but the first thing you need when you're doing these reactions are going to be a balanced chemical equation. Just like when you're doing stoichiometry, same deal. Okay, so we have some information. We have 4 moles of ammonia that's placed into a 2.0 liter container, and it's heated to a particular temperature. So we don't really care what that number is. We just know that that temperature is going to be constant because we're going to have equilibrium here. The amount of ammonia decreases to 2.0 moles. So we started off with 4 moles and it went down to 2 moles. And we're asked to determine the equilibrium concentrations for our 2 products, nitrogen and hydrogen. Okay. So let's set up some information we have. So we have our mole value of NH3, okay, and this is our initial mole value, right? We have 4 moles. We have the volume of the container, which is 2 liters. And then we have the mole value after it finishes decreasing. So that's our mole value at equilibrium. Okay, so it's assumed that when you're looking at these reactions, if they tell you that you've had a decrease and then they've recorded that value, that's now the time where it looks like it's no longer changing. So remember, if you have no change to the concentration, it is assumed that you're now in a status of equilibrium. So the first thing we're going to do, so here are our initial, so I use a lot of subscripts a lot for this. So the little I for initial and the little e for equilibrium. So we have our initial mole, our equilibrium mole value, and our volume of the container. And we need our equilibrium for our 2 products. So the first thing we're going to do here is, remember when we're doing an ICE table, this is initial concentration, concentration, concentration. So here, we're not told the concentration yet. So the first thing we should do is determine the concentration that is initial and the concentration that is equilibrium. So how we're going to do that, this goes back to grade 11 again. C is equal to N over V. So just to recap, that is moles, and the volume must always be in liters because this concentration is going to be moles per liter. So we're going to use our C is equal to N over V to figure out the concentration for the initial and equilibrium values that we're given. And then we're going to set up our ICE table, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So the first thing we're doing here is our concentration for our initial ammonia. So it's moles per liter, so 4 moles over 2 liters. So we have our initial. And our equilibrium concentration is our equilibrium moles, and the container is staying the same size. So our new concentration at the end of equilibrium is 1 mole per liter. Okay, so now we're going to set up an ICE table. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this reaction out. Give me a second here. Okay, so we have 2NH3 gas, and then we have N2 plus 3H2. And these are all gases. Okay, so we're going to set up an ICE table. So the I means that we're going to write in all of the initial concentrations that we have. So we just did the initial concentration of ammonia, which is 2 moles per liter. So we have the initial here of 2 moles per liter. Now, all products at the beginning initially is a 0, right? We start off with no product, only reactants. Now, the change in concentration is a negative for the reactants and a positive for the products. You have to imagine the concentration is going to decrease on the reactant side, and it is going to increase on the product side. Now, how much is it increasing or decreasing by? We're not sure as of right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a value of X. So we're going to decrease by X, increase, and increase by X. So the X we don't know right now. But the amount that these will increase and decrease by has to do with the mole ratios. So since they have different coefficients, they're not going to be changing at exactly the same amounts for each one because, for example, nitrogen and hydrogen, you're going to have 3 times the amount of hydrogen than you will nitrogen, right? Going back to mole ratios. So when you're doing your change in rho, you have to consider the coefficient of that substance. So this reactant is going down by a certain amount, but it's going down by 2x because of the exponent, the coefficient 2. Nitrogen is going up by x, just 1x, so it's just x, but the hydrogen should be 3x. So meaning whatever the change is that's happening, it's going to be twice as much of a change for ammonia and 3 times as much of a change for hydrogen, simply because of the ratios. Your equilibrium rho is essentially your initial plus the change. So here we would do 2.0 moles per liter minus 2x, right? Initial plus the change. Here we're going to have 0 plus x, which is x. And here we're going to have 0 plus 3x, which is 3x. So at equilibrium, we have this expression. For ammonia, we have x, and we have 3x. Now, we do have the equilibrium value for ammonia. We know that it's 1 mole per liter. So what that means is essentially this equilibrium expression is equal to 1 mole per liter.